The city has placed a 0.25% income tax increase on the ballot in November. If it doesn't pass, the city could have to make deep cuts in police, fire, and service. Do you support the tax increase, and why? And if not, what would you do to balance the city's budget? And we'll start with T.
Okay. So with the tax increase on the ballot, I will say that I do not support it. It's something that I've felt vehemently about for a while, specifically because it was hard for me to listen to the city council tell us that we're losing millions of dollars a year with the water system on one hand, and come to the citizens saying we need more money from you on the other. So that was just a very simple thing that I saw. In terms of my professional experience, process improvement is a lot of what I do. Khalil said that he's trained in Six Sigma and Lean, and so am I, and that's something that I apply in my daily life. And what I would do, so we're talking about what happens if it doesn't pass. What I would do, honestly, is I would make a commitment to shadowing as many of the city services as possible within my first months on the job, if I was elected, and really understand how everyone could work smarter, not harder. Efficiency isn't necessarily about how do we cut staff, but rather how do we increase productivity. I think there's a lot of opportunities there, and ways that we can save money by being more productive as opposed to by just cutting staff. Unfortunately, working in an organization as I do, I know that full-time employees are the biggest cost, and sometimes cuts will need to be made, but that's something that will have to be addressed down the line. Other options to definitely look into is, how can we look at regionalization? How can we partner with other municipalities around us to try to share some overhead costs?
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Carol?
I do support the tax increase. In my experience of following this issue for over the last year, I have looked into and understand that there has been a decline in revenues in terms of the city. And we can't maintain essential safety forces and other essential services, is my concern, if we don't have a tax increase. While no one really loves tax increases, I think it's important to maintain the values of our city, particularly with safety forces. So I would also look for efficiencies in the future, and my experience in nursing administration and other organizations says that you can't make significant savings anywhere unless you cut staff. So the idea that we would have to cut even more staff than our safety forces is concerning to me.
Okay, thank you. Khalil?
Well, I voted to place this income tax increase on the ballot for residents in Cleveland Heights to decide this November because I was concerned about what the alternative might be. I know that there are efficiencies to be found. There always are. The question is, it's an issue of timing. And finding, vetting, and implementing millions of dollars of efficiencies it's a daunting task to do to avoid a budget deficit in the next year. That's why I was interested, and I floated the possibility of placing a sunset on this income tax increase. I did not receive the support that I had hoped on council, but I floated that idea because I know that having a time limit on that revenue would provide a motivation. I don't believe that the drastic cuts that we would need to make will strengthen the city. You don't starve your way to prosperity, but I am interested in finding a way to achieve those efficiencies, ensure that we don't create a budget deficit next year or dramatically impact our services. So I'm in favor, and I will be voting for the tax increase this November. And then I hope to get to work finding those efficiencies so that we don't have to rely on that additional revenue in the future.
Okay, thanks. Khalil? I'm sorry, Kaba, sorry about that.
Thanks, that's fine. Yes, all this is about finding revenues. I think the issue in Cleveland Heights before we talk tax is they did not improve or they didn't put economic development forefront. If we have a good economic development in the city, all across the city, I think we will have more revenue and we will talk less about increasing tax on the citizens. But we didn't have anything. So the situation now is, do we will face shortfall or we have to go? So I think 0.25 is not big deal, but it's big deal for a lot of people who always, I understand them, they pay a lot of taxes in here. If you tell them to pay again, they will be, excuse me my language, they will not be happy about this. But the situation is, I support the tax, but to me, it has to be limited now. Not next year again, tell people come back and we pay tax again. I think my issue is we need to focus on economic development in the city. Without that, we will always come back and increase taxes because this city is not industrial city, it's residential. And so we need to change the zoning code to bring businesses that can strengthen our economy and broaden our tax base so we live a low on the population for a while. But right now, I'm going to support the small increase of tax.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for your response. Mary?
Yes. So I am in favor of the 0.25% income tax increase. I think this is rather complicated, but people don't understand that the cuts we're talking about that have impacted the police and fire are to the general fund, and that the 0.25% income tax would go to solve that shortfall. The water is a separate issue. There's a separate fund for it, and it is meant to be a moneymaker. However, it hasn't been. So what we're working on in water will balance the water fund, but the trouble with the general fund is that the state of Ohio, in making cuts, no longer sends us local government funds, and so we are falling $2 million short a year because of not receiving those funds. Also, they eliminated the estate tax, and that averaged about $500,000 a year for the city to the general fund. So we don't have those anymore. Basically, there's a three-pronged approach that your city takes to dealing with the funds we have. One is that we try to find efficiencies. The other is that we look for collaboration. And the third is economic development. Those are three prongs. In terms of efficiencies, we have conducted a strategic operations review, which we're working on, collaborations. We've gone to RETA and other things. I guess I'm running out of town, so I can't explain everything.
Well, you might be able, we can follow up.
Okay.
You'll get a chance. So, Julie?
I am against the tax increase. The median income of Cleveland Heights residents is $50,000. The 0.25% income tax increase would be 30% of the disposable income of a family. So this seems small to some people, but to most people it's not. It's actually devastating. And I've talked to a lot of people who say that they will leave if the tax is passed. I like the sunset clause though. A lot of people said they would be for that, by the way. But so our population is decreasing dramatically. From 2013 to 2010, we've lost 1,000 residents. So for a city that it was 50,000 when I moved to Cleveland Heights, now we're down to 45. So that is causing a huge impact in our loss of revenue. So like in 2013, we lost, this is the last audited financial statements, we lost $3 million in 2013. So this isn't the first year that we're losing money. We've been doing that for years. So it's not really just the state cuts that are affecting us. There are other things too. Like for example, between 2011 and 2012, salaries went up $2.8 million. That's right about the same time that everybody was kind of experiencing a decline in their wages. So that was really a hard time, to have salaries go up so much. That's 5% of the budget. So I am absolutely opposed to the income tax increase.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Cable?
I have follow-up for the people who's in the council.
I'll tell you what, the follow-up questions will be at the end.
Sorry.
We'll give you a chance to ask questions in the end.
Okay.
But for now, does anyone have any more to add about this issue?
No, I just want to add that
Okay.
It's very devastating to a lot of people, this increase in tax. But I come again, this is the way a lot of people are pissed off, sorry my language, because we do not have developed any economic development. That for the last 20 years, we thinking the city is residential, yes, but we need to improve it because we're in 21st century. We have to use technology and things in order to increase companies that come here to pay taxes. But right now, the situation is I'm worried after this election, it will be the same thing again. We do not develop, and we go again, and we in 2-3 years, and we say again, increase the tax again. That's my concern. So I hope this will be the last things we will focus on, and we focus on economic development.
Okay, I want to go with Mary first.
Yeah, the voters get to decide on this, and actually there hasn't been a tax increase to the income tax since the 1970s. So it's not like it's something that's going to happen all the time. We've just done a lot of things to try to work forward. We are working on a master plan now for the community. It's just started, and that will help steer economic development. We definitely have to hire an economic development director. Apparently it's very hard to find them. The county took 10 months, and I think they have one now, but I'm not sure. So that would help a lot, as if we had that. We have gotten grants from the state to do lean training for some of our employees. So all of the prongs of the approach to government, that efficiencies and collaboration and so on, they're all being worked on, and we'll be making progress further. So.
Okay, Julie?
But, so I know the water and the general fund are separate, but in 2009, when we lost $800,000 in the water department, we transferred $500,000 from the general fund to the water fund. So we've been doing that kind of stuff for years. Just, you know, so we do make transfers like that.
Yeah.
But also, we are issuing long-term bonds for short-term things. And so when we're issuing long-term bonds, we should be doing it to plug holes in the water pipes, not for things like computers and cars. But also, it's not just this tax increase, it's the tax burden that we have in Cleveland Heights. Just in the past few years, income taxes have gone up $600 per $1,000 of home value. And I think it's just all adding to the burden that's making it difficult to live in Cleveland Heights. And unfortunately, I'm afraid it's keeping people and businesses out of Cleveland Heights. So,
Carol?
It was my understanding from the presentation on Monday that overall the savings that each of our households will receive from the water is almost making up the amount that the income tax increase is going to be.
In time, yes.
In time, okay.
It might not be the first year, but that will happen.
You have studies on that? Is it sure?
hold on right here. Okay, do I tell you?
Yes.
Go ahead, Julie.
Can I? Okay, so the first year, it'll be $28.67 per quarter savings.
Okay.
And then after the transition, if they let us, I hope, because the transition is until 2023, it would be $82.79 per quarter savings per household, which would be, that would be great. I mean, that would be great. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, and you guys maybe can tell me later if my concern is the transition fee. Maybe they renegotiated that. I don't know, but the transition fee is $200 a year per household, which seems like a lot, but anyway.
Well, we are in debt to Cleveland Water.
Okay, so it pays off the debt.
Yeah.
It pays off the debt and gets us out of that.
Okay.
Khalil, would you like to add anything to this?
I just think the panel is
Going
doing
rogue
a
over
great
here.
job.
Sorry.
What about T? You
I'd love to add something, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry, so
You'll get the last word.
So Cleo, this is the first time that I heard about adding the sunset onto the ballot. Honestly, had that been added, I think that would have been great, because I'm a huge proponent of, if we have to tighten our belts today to have a sustainable long-term future, then I think that would have been great. Unfortunately, that didn't hit the ballot, but I wanted to at least commend you for that. And then I wanted to reiterate what Julie said in terms of, we can't sustain a city if people are leaving. The opportunity cost to leave Cleveland Heights to go to Shaker, to go to Lakewood, to go somewhere else, it's a couple miles down the street. It's not that much. And so people, will be driven out, and then there will be fewer people paying taxes and less money for the city overall. So I think that a tax increase will only be a disincentivizer for people to both move in, and also an incentivizer for people to look at their other options.
Okay, well, now we got to move on.